I just rewatched the Matrix movie, the original one, and I loved it. It's just one of the all-time classics, and I just realized again how much it relates to the work that I do. So let me talk about that a little bit, and just want to start off by what is our quote this week that is from that original movie, and it's from a scene where Morpheus is um, helping Neo because Neo is struggling with so what is real and what's not real. And so Morpheus is helping him, and he says the following: if real is what you can feel and see, smell and taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain. Now that's a really interesting quote, but it does make me then question: so how do we know that our current reality is real? How do we know that Dippy isn't sentient? How do we know? And so here we go into a little bit. So I guide clients in moving them from being unconscious victims to being conscious leaders and influencers. And so when I say unconscious, I mean, that's a bit harsh, isn't it, Ian? Well, let me give you some of the symptoms I see, and I've seen this with leaders all over the world. The first one that I see is blame, where I see literally leaders of leaders, senior managers in big organizations who go, no, no, but it's all the fault of my people. They blame their staff for their leadership, or they'll blame their leader, their manager for their leadership, or they'll blame the economy or the socio-political situation or all sorts of things. And if you look back and you think of all great leaders who've ever lived, have they ever blamed their leadership, their performance as a leader on circumstances? No, the great leaders are never under circumstances. They're aware of circumstances, they're in tune, but they are not blaming those circumstances. Another example of what I see in unconscious leaders is rage. Everybody's blameworthy, and sometimes we get triggered and we get triggered into rage. But what I see is whenever we're going there, that's the problem, and I've done this myself. This is where we are not accepting that we probably have some woundings we haven't dealt with, that we haven't been on a journey with, and that's why we're apportioning blame. The next symptom that I see is just conditioning, where people aren't even aware that what they're saying is actually their father's voice, their teacher's voice, society's voice, the media's voice, and they're not really in tune with who they really are and speaking from that truth. And they're not aware that where all these influences come from, and not even aware that their responses are conditioned responses. And then the final one I see is mindsets. I have no choice. I have to. I must. And the really interesting thing with that is we always have a choice. And that's what I like to bring to my work, that we always have a choice. Let's say, for example, you're in a situation where it's so obvious you have to choose this one. How about you change the language and you can go, I could choose either, but I want to choose this one. What does that do emotionally and psychologically? It takes us from an unconscious state to a conscious state. And that is so empowering, and it will change everything. So, if that's what an unconscious state looks like, what does a conscious leader look like? Well, the first is they've embarked. They've embarked on a journey of themselves irrevocably, where they have reached a point where the inner journey and the self-leadership that comes from that is central to their external leadership, their external influences, their parenting, their team leadership, their senior management role, their running their business. They realize that the inner leads to the outer. And not only that, but they realize it's not over. It's a process, and they are in process. And that process that they are in is moving that all the time. They never have a sense of arrived. They know they need to invest more and more in self, discover more and more of self and purpose, and live out their lives from that. That then leads to another example, and that is they are so in tune with themselves that they live and lead from their essence, from their truest self. They're not leading from a conditioning, they're leading from their truth. They're in integrity with self. And that integrity with essence, that integrity with self, is a great source of power and authenticity in the way that they lead. They've also cultivated awareness, not only self-awareness, but even things like emotional intelligence, which is a skill, by the way, that you can learn and that I work with my people on. And out of that awareness of themselves, awareness of their people, awareness of their environment, they have a great leadership impact. And then the final thing is that a conscious leader leaves a conscious legacy. They've discovered a call in their lives, a purpose in their lives, a legacy that they want to leave that will positively influence the world around them. And so what I'm really saying is that most of the time, those who are unconscious are either completely unaware that they're unconscious, or they're in denial because they just don't want to go there. And that is the overall sign of being unconscious, because a conscious leader wants to go there. Not is going to enjoy going there. Maybe there will be some enjoyment, but it's a difficult journey. But they want to go there. They want to go to that place. So, what about you? How conscious are you? How far are you on the journey from unconscious to conscious? Is this something that you've still got a long way to go on? Is it something that you feel like you've arrived on? Well, if you think you've arrived, then maybe you're not conscious, because it is an ongoing journey. It's my ongoing journey. Is it your ongoing journey?